For the altar, it's important to remember there are 6 candles. There can be more, but there have to be 6. They need to be on the back higher portion of the shelf lit. Before Mass, it's the MC's job to make sure everything gets done. If something doesn't get done or done right, it's technically your fault by default. The altar cards need to be set up ahead of time. The corporal should be spread out on the altar. The sacred vessel should be veiled and already there, with the burst leaning against the left side in between the middle altar card and the last gospel card. The missal should be at the epistle point ready, open already, and ready for Mass to begin. The credence table should have the bells, lavabo dish and towel. Both cruets should be full enough with the tray, and it should be, the candles and crosses should be in the back. Again, it's the MC's responsibility to do all of this stuff. This is the MC server training guide for the Missa Cantata or High Mass. At the beginning, there's the processional. The lineup is the thurifer with the boat boy on his left, if there is one. There does not have to be one. Followed by about 5 pews will be the crucifer with the acolyte 1 flanking his left, acolyte 2 flanking his right. Then another 5 pews would be any clergy who are in choir, and then the MC, and then the priest. Only the crucifer is not required to genuflect during the processional. Everyone else does. When the MC arrives, he arrives to the priest's right, takes the biretta, genuflects with the priest, and goes to the sedilia, that is the priest chair. Places the biretta on the sedilia with the middle fin facing the tabernacle. He returns to the foot of the altar, crosses the priest, the left side of the priest, makes a genuflection, remains kneeling for the prayers at the foot of the altar. Sign of the cross, the prayers and responses are made as usual per low Mass. The other servers are standing, and it's the MC's job to make sure everybody's doing everything they should be doing. Hands should be folded as usual. The repetition of the psalm is first, and then there will be a low head bow during the Gloria Patri, sign of the cross at the Adjutorium Nostrum. If the crucifer should forget to line up the kneelers, the MC will have to figure that out somehow and give a death stare. Priest does his Confiteor. At the end, the server will turn inwards and do a response. After the prayers at the foot of the altar, assist the priest in lifting his alb as he ascends the altar. Stand, go to the center and genuflect. Take the long route up towards the credence table to meet the thurifer and the boat bearer. When waiting, you'll notice the MC faces Adorantum. He always faces Adorantum, except for when the priest is sitting, he will face versus Populum. He will take the boat from the boat bearer and give the spoon to the priest and say, Benedicite Pater Reverende, which means, bless this Reverend Father. And then he will put the incense in the thurible and give the boat back to the boat bearer. The thurifer will give the thurible to the MC, who will then give it to the priest. And it will make genuflections as he incenses the altar. It's important that the MC remember that if the priest should forget something, and it's possible to let him know without making a big disturbance, he should do so. For example, he should incense, the crucifix, three doubles, and then the relics, one single each, and then do the traditional altar pattern, which is correct in the video. And every time there is a genuflection, you'll notice that the MC and thurifer as well are holding the priest's shoulder, both for stability, for a practical sense, and also to symbolize the laity's participation in the Mass, because the priest himself is still only human. After the incensation, the MC receives the thurible from the priest. Both make a bow to the priest. The priest is incensed with 3 double swings. And then the MC returns the thurible to the thurifer. The MC approaches the missal side, makes the sign of the cross with the priest to begin the introit, and does all the liturgical gestures with the priest for all of the Mass, except for there are some exceptions in the canon, which I will mention later. For example, there was the bow for the Gloria Patri. After the introit, the priest will return to the center of the altar, and he will make the responses to himself. The server descends, faces ad orientem, and awaits the beginning, and he will return later. Next, the priest will begin the Gloria, and other than that, the liturgical gesture right there, the separation of the hands, the server makes the bows with the priest first at the Deo in the very first line, Gloria in Excelsis Deo, at the Adoramus Te, at the Gratius Agimus Tibi, both times at the Holy Name of Jesu Christe, once at Suscipe Deprecationem Nostrum, and the sign of the cross at the end. After the Gloria, the priest will say the Dominus Vobiscum, and you do not have to wait until after the Et Cum Spiritu Tuo. The MC automatically ascends to the missal side so he can point the text of the collect to the priest that he is to sing. Or if the priest should happen to print it out, turn to that page where it's paperclipped in the missal. The gestures, again, are made the same except for the orans. The server does not do the orans. He keeps his hands folded, and he will bow at the Holy Name of Jesus if it is mentioned in the conclusion. And after the collect prayer, the choir will answer Amen, and the priest will begin singing the epistle. The server also can point that out to the priest. Anytime the Holy Name is mentioned, he turns and reverently bows to the tabernacle or altar cross. and turns back and faces a 90 degrees towards, faces directly at the priest on this side of the altar. At this point, the laity, as they did, and the servers can sit. And then after the epistle is chanted, the priest will place his left hand on the altar, and the MC alone will reply Deo Gratias silently. The choir will be singing straight through. After the epistle, they will begin singing the gradual, then the Alleluia verse, and then if there's a sequence, the sequence. But the priest also just reads through them all as well. So both just keep going until they're both finished with them all. And if there's extra time, the priest will sit during the sequence or any other thing where there's a lot of time. Anytime the priest needs to sit down, both will make a small bow to the altar crucifix, and the MC will lead the priest to his chair and grab the biretta and step back, and will help the priest drape his chasuble over the back of the chair while the priest puts on the biretta as he sits. And since the priest is sitting, the MC faces versus pulpulum and waits. At any time the holy name is mentioned, the MC will bow to the priest. The priest will to signal to remove the biretta, and then the MC will turn and bow to the tabernacle. It's okay if that's before the holy name is mentioned slightly. Timing doesn't have to be perfect there, but it is also important just to make sure you're bowing at the holy name. And then afterwards, he would face versus pulpulum again, or if it's time to get up, he would alert the priest, take the biretta, and do the reverse. And he will lead the priest back to the altar. As so. Generally, the responsibility of forming the gospel procession falls to the thurifer, but if he does not, you will have to compensate, so be prepared. The thurifer will lead the boat bearer and 2 torch bearers the long route to the altar floor, and then the MC takes the short route with the missal stand in hand. It's to the right of the thurifer, all genuflect. And the MC goes the short route while the rest of the procession takes the long route to the gospel side. The missal is placed at a 45-degree angle of the altar, and the MC will usually have to change the page to the chant notation. The boat is received from the boat bearer, and incense is imposed as usual, except for at this side of the altar. Turns the boat to the boat bearer, takes the thurible from the thurifer, and goes to the right of the priest. The priest will say the Dominus Vobiscum. The choir will make the responses. And after the responses, the MC will hand the thurible to the priest, who will incense the gospel book, and will return the thurible, and the MC hands the thurible back to the thurifer, and then stands facing the gospel as everyone else should. At the end of the gospel, the priest will kiss the gospel book, and the MC replies quietly, Laus tibi Christe. And then the MC will lead the procession the long route back to the center. And once making sure everybody is where they need to be, there will be a genuflection, and he'll lead everyone to the long route to their seats during the homily. During the homily, it is important to remember to remind the thurifer to change the coals if he's not already doing so.
Hopefully it comes to no surprise to all of you that putting all this together takes a lot, especially when we're not accustomed to it. So putting together a schola and serving.
After the homily, the priest will return to the center of the altar, and the MC and the other servers should stand. The MC will descend the long route to the step at the foot of the altar, again facing ad orientem together with the priest, hands folded, awaiting for the creed. The priest will intone the creed, and the MC, likewise with the priest, will make head bows. It can be hard to hear the priest, so you have to pay attention to his movements. When he bows the first time, it's Iesum Christum, and then the next thing that's going to happen is the genuflection. And as soon as he genuflects, you have to be prepared to clap once to signal that the other servers will also genuflect. The laity should too. Then, for a single clap, usually there isn't a second clap. Usually you just stand when everybody stands. For the kneeling, we will discuss that momentarily, how that's slightly different. There will be another bow during the Simul Adorator, and then a sign of the cross at the end at Vitam Venturi Seculi. There's also, after the priest is finished, he will descend from the altar to the center, where the MC will meet him at his right and will kneel on the first step with him at the words of consecration. And if the priest is lagging behind, well, then you'll have to be innovative, because it came awfully close to him not being there in time. When he gets there, you must clap twice, and that signals the kneel. And when you clap twice again, everyone will stand. The kneeling has to be for et incarnatus est, de Spiritu Sancto ex Maria Virgine, et homo factus est. And then you would clap again, signal the stand, and then you would return to where you were after he ascends, and face Adorantum until the end of the creed, continuing to make the gestures even though the choir is singing it now. The priest will kiss the altar to start the offertory with the Dominus Vobiscum. You again do not have to wait for the Et cum Spiritu Tuo, nor make the response. The choir will do that. After he makes it, you depart long route and get Acolyte 1 and 2 prepared with the cruets. Principally speaking, the MC should remove the caps and whatnot and hand them out. So know who your guys are, so you can help them out. Make sure that the wine is, when facing the altar, the wine is on the right and the water is on the left. If there's to be a collection, make sure someone's set up ahead of time to do that. That should happen right after the Oremus. Again, while waiting for the offering of the host, you see the MC is also facing Adorantum, still even waiting, does not look at the people. And when the priest is finished offering the host, the MC leads the servers to pour first the wine, but the priest will do it make sure they're handling them correctly. That should be already taken care of before the Mass. The MC will bow with the two servers and then return them to the credence table and help them and assist them getting everything put back to where they should be. Then he will signal for the incense and the boat bearer to come over for the imposition for the second incensation of the gospel, of the altar and the gifts. take the boat from the boat bearer and follow a very similar pattern. Also, Acolyte 1 will have to go the long route to wait and remove the missile during the instanciation. Don't forget to say Benedicite Pater Reverende. He'll bless the incense. This one takes a little bit longer because the formula is a bit longer. Thurifer hands the thurible to the MC and pretty much follows the same process. There is one difference. When incensing the gifts, there's no genuflection before that. It's after that, before the tabernacle / altar cross, that there's a genuflection. And then everything else follows as usual. After incensing the altar, the MC receives the thurible from the priest, makes a bow, and gives the priest 3 double swings. Bow afterwards, and he will give the thurible to the thurifer, and make sure that the acolytes do water and the bowl and cloth for the lavabo. You will lead them over, but you're not staying. You'll cross the altar to where you'll stand during the canon, face inwards towards the tabernacle, and then back out to the thurifer, who will initiate incense by bowing to you, and then do a double swing, one double, and bow after, and then turn back towards the center to assist at the canon, while the thurifer senses everyone else. There will be multiple page turns during the Mass, and it's your responsibility to turn the pages. Kind of have to look at the missal beforehand to make sure you know when you're going to have to do that. Right now he's offering the prayer to the Holy Trinity, and then he will do the Orate Fratres, to which you make the response silently as possible. And then be sure to point out the secret prayer after you've made the response. And then that will lead into the collect. During the collect, you can make a small but unnoticeable head bow during the Gratias Agamus Domino Deo Nostro, along with the priest. After the preface, the MC, who will be facing at an angle towards the oblation after it's consecrated, begins facing completely ad orientem along with the priest, makes a small bow during the Sanctus, and changes until the Benedicat, which the sign of the cross there is made. He will turn the page from the preface to the canon and remain standing erect and facing ad orientem until the consecration. When the priest offers his intentions for the living and the dead's after the consecration, this is the living now, he will draw his hands together, and the MC steps back and does a medium shoulder bow towards the oblation until he splits his hands again, which means he's finished, and then you resume your position. After the priest offers his intentions, soon the communicantes prayer will come up. There are 2 tabs with communicantes prayers on them, one after another. The second tab is the common one used mostly throughout the year, but there are certain feasts where there's a particular one. You need to check ahead of time to see which one you're going to have to use through the ordo. So you might have to skip a tab at this point. That's the only real awkward page turn. After the priest begins the Qui Pridie prayer, back step and kneel. It's a real honor to be the MC because you get to stand in the presence of our Lord when everybody else has to kneel. Don't abuse that privilege. As the priest begins to say the words of consecration, make a very small head bow. After his consecration, you should make a deeper bow. When he genuflects, raise his chasuble with both hands and stare at the host because everything else in there comparatively is uglier than heck. The priest will genuflect and you make a bow. Remain kneeling for the same process with the chalice. And after the second genuflection with the chalice, you will stand together with the priest. After the consecration, the MC is slightly more turned inwards than completely ad orientem because he's facing the oblation who is now on the altar rather than the altar cross. Also, it should be noted that there's a page turn immediately after the consecration of the chalice, so get up and get ready and don't befuddle like I do when the priest actually has the next prayer partially memorized and you're like, what are you actually reading? And get confused. I mentioned earlier that you make all the gestures except for certain ones during prayers and during the canon. This is one of those gestures. You do not bow during the Suscipe prayer, and you do not do the orans ever. And during the Nobis Quoque Peccatory Bus, you don't strike your breast either. And just as for the commemoration intentions of the living, this is the commemoration of the dead. Step back, make a bow as he offers them, and then reapproach the altar once he's done. That's the sign for that is splitting the hands. Anytime the priest genuflects, you hold under his elbow with your right hand and genuflect with him. That's pretty much any time he'll uncover the chalice and cover it. After he covers it again, you'll genuflect. It's important to remember that while you're at the altar, you'll hold his elbow. Again, there's a practical purpose for stability, and there's a symbolic purpose as well. That is that you're assisting him because he's only human in his sacrifice of the Mass. It also symbolizes the dude whose name begins with an S that I can't remember that helped with the cross. Dang it. Simon, Simeon, something like that. Anyway, I don't remember. Maybe not. Then, yeah. The priest will say the 3 long prayers bowed, and he will genuflect, and that's your symbol to leave. And don't do what I did and be dumb, but you should actually genuflect with him. But then you should go off to the side and kneel, or if you are going to receive, then you'll go and lead the procession with the paten. But since I didn't receive, I didn't. But generally speaking, the idea though is the lineup, the person in the front leads them out, and that will be the person that follows Father around with the paten to the faithful during distribution, and the person at the end of the line should have the paten in hand. And then they will come to the center and kneel to receive themselves. After the tabernacle door is shut and the priest genuflects, that's the sign that you get up, descend the altar, make a genuflection, then ascend, and you will get the acolytes ready to do the ablutions. And to avoid anybody kicking the bells, I moved them there. Once the acolytes are ready, you will stay and send AC1 with the wine to do the first ablution. And after he comes back, and the Father begins walking to the side of the altar, you will lead both servers, just as at the offertory. Again, make sure someone is designated to open the pseudo-communion rail. After the servers go back, take the paten, the server paten, place it on the credence table, help them get everything set up. By set up, I mean everything, all the caps on, and yeah, my colloquial crap talk. Anyway, then descend the altar, make a genuflection, ascend the altar, grab the missal, take the short route down, if you have something in your hand, genuflect, take the short route up, and place the missal back where it was at the beginning for the epistle. And then stand to the missal side and point out to the priest the communion verse. It will be at the end of the canon, so you'll have to change the page back to the other ribbon. When he is done, you go back, you descend the altar for the Dominus Vobiscum, and after which reascend just as before for the collect prayer. Except for I don't know if I did that. Good. I did do it. At the conclusion, if there's the holy name, you'll bow and then shut the missal for the priest. He'll go to the center. And you should be descending now, but he's not. Terrible MC. For the Dominus Vobiscum. But this time you will stay there as they sing. And as soon as the priest begins the Benedicat Vos for the blessing, after he'll turn back around, and then he'll start praying a prayer. Sometime in this mix, very shortly, you will do a double clap to signal for a kneeling. That's for the blessing, as you see there. It really doesn't matter when, as long as it's happening. Make the blessing, then the servers respond, or especially the MC has to, responds amen. Then it's the last gospel, at which time the thurifer should start the procession, or recession, and you need to grab the biretta and help get people lined up if need be. Make sure there's enough room for the priest to meet you on your left to genuflect. Again, the only person that doesn't have to genuflect is the crucifer. Everyone else needs to have room to genuflect, and there's also, remember, the genuflection during the last gospel, which pretty much just goes off when the priest genuflects. And you will genuflect with him, and then he will meet you there, and the recession will begin. Likewise, during the recessional, it's right after all genuflect, and then you want to make sure that the priest is, and everyone else, I guess, are 5 pews. There are 5 pews in between each segments of the recession. And this has been brought to you by me.